Buying a rental property isn't just buying a house. It's buying a small business that never closes. Tenants, toilets, taxes, timing. If you don't see the business, the house will teach it to you the hard way. The good news is you don't need to be a contractor, a CPA, or a courtroom regular to win. You need a model that fits your life, a checklist that kills surprises, numbers you can defend to a skeptic, and the humility to start simple. This isn't a hype video. This is the sober walkthrough I wish every first-time landlord watched before signing anything. How to choose a strategy, underwrite deals, avoid the traps, and run the asset like a calm operator instead of a nervous hobbyist. Begin with strategy before Zillow. There are only a handful of viable paths for a first rental. Long-term buy and hold single-family or small multifamily, house hack, live in one unit or bedroom and rent others, mid-term rentals to traveling professionals, furnished 30 to 90-day stays, or short-term vacation rentals if your market and laws allow. Each has a different job description. Long-term holds are boring and resilient. Tenants stay, cash flow is steady, turnover is low. House hacking trades privacy for speed. Your housing cost collapses and your learning curve accelerates. Midterm sits between, with higher rent and more furnishing/turnover work. Short-term can cash flow beautifully or become a full-time hospitality job with legal risk. Choose a lane that matches your energy, schedule, and rules where you live. If you have a demanding job and a family, the boring lane is a virtue, not a missed opportunity. Then choose a market like an operator, not a tourist. The right market is one you can manage well and exit cleanly. You want a stable or growing population, diverse employment base, landlord-friendly laws, or at least know the tenant protections you must respect, reasonable property taxes, and rents that cover expenses with a margin that survives bad months. Don't chase the cheapest zip code, chase the healthiest risk-adjusted return. Within a metro, favor neighborhoods with livable commutes, decent schools if you're buying family housing, proximity to services, and homes that are normal for the area. Weird houses are hard to rent and harder to sell. When in doubt, buy something that would have been rentable 10 years ago and will be rentable 10 years from now, even if a trend dies. Now the math. A rental that only works in a spreadsheet will not work in your life. The underwriting must be conservative and boring. Start with realistic rent. Use actual comps, units of similar size, condition, parking, and location rented within the last 60-90 days. Avoid aspirational rates. If you plan to improve the unit, model current rent and a pro forma. Don't buy a fairy tale. Subtract a vacancy factor, 5% in strong markets, 8 to 10% in average ones, higher if seasonality bites. Then subtract non-negotiable expense buckets, property taxes, watch reassessment risk, landlord insurance, utilities you pay, HOA if relevant, lawn, snow, and pest if not tenant paid, a maintenance reserve, at least 8 to 10% of rent, and a capital expenditures reserve, another 8 to 10% for big items like roof, HVAC, windows, parking, and exterior paint. Add property management at 8 to 10%, even if you plan to self-manage. Your deal should survive paying a pro, or you've bought yourself a job you can't ever quit. What remains after all of this is your net operating income, NOI. From NOI, subtract your mortgage principal and interest to see true cash flow. If the number barely peaks above zero before you buy, it will hide below zero when reality shows up. People love rules of thumb. Use them as smell tests, not as gospel. The 1% rule, monthly rent roughly equal to 1% of purchase price, rarely holds in high-cost cities and often overpromises in low-cost areas that hide big CapEx. The 50% rule, half the rent goes to non-mortgage expenses, is a decent back-of-napkin check. The debt service coverage ratio, bankers love, NOI divided by annual mortgage payments, should be above 1.20 for comfort, higher if your income is lumpy. But the real discipline is to build a 12-month pro forma with real numbers and then break it on purpose. What if taxes reassess up 12%? What if you have 2 months vacancy? What if you need a $7,500 HVAC in year 1? If the deal still stands after 3 kicks, it's a deal. If it wobbles under a light breeze, it's a lesson you can learn on someone else's listing. Financing is where many first-timers either win quietly or tie a knot they can't breathe through. If you will live in the property, house hack, Owner-occupied loans are the cheat code. Lower down payments, better rates, friendlier underwriting. FHA, VA if eligible, or conventional with 3 to 5% down can get you in the game. Just remember, occupancy rules are real, and lying is fraud. If it's a pure investment, you're in the 15 to 25% down world with conventional loans, portfolio lenders, or DSCR lenders who underwrite the property's cash flow more than your W-2. DSCR loans are faster and looser, but cost more. Private money and partnerships exist, but they're spicy for a first deal unless the terms are boring and the partner is experienced. Pick a loan you can carry during a bad month without vomiting. Exotic leverage belongs to people who can write a check to fix it when the market changes its mind. Inspection is not a formality. It's your first CapEx plan. Hire a thorough inspector and walk every inch. Roof age, foundation cracks, drainage, electrical panels, plumbing material and cleanouts, HVAC age and service, windows, moisture, attic insulation and ventilation, pests, exterior grading, retaining walls, garage doors, safety devices. Ask for life expectancy ranges and replacement costs. Add the inspector's notes to a 3-year and 10-year CapEx calendar. You're not looking for perfection. You're pricing imperfection so surprises don't turn into credit card roofs. Negotiate credits or a lower price for real issues, skip fighting over cosmetics. And if the bones are bad and the price won't move, pass without drama. There will be another house. There will not be another first deal you ruin by falling in love with a problem married to a zip code. Underwrite your time. Landlording is a calendar job. Calls, showings, applications, screenings, lease signings, move-in checklists, maintenance coordination, rent collection, bookkeeping, and occasional conflict. If your life can't absorb 2 to 5 hours a week during acquisition and 1 to 3 hours weekly in steady state, hire management at the spreadsheet stage and let them earn their 8 to 10%. Good managers are process machines. They market units well, screen within the law, collect rent without drama, enforce leases consistently, maintain with preferred vendors, and document everything. Bad managers are a second job. Interview 3. Ask about their screening criteria, average days to rent, eviction rate, owner portal, maintenance approval thresholds, after-hours coverage, and how they handle security deposits and move-out condition reports. Call references. Management is not overhead, it's a risk control lever. Screening tenants is where you protect the asset and your sleep. Create a written standard before you list. Income multiple, 2.5 to 3x rent household income, minimum credit score if you use one, no recent violent felonies or evictions, subject to fair housing and local laws, stable employment or savings, positive landlord references, pets allowed or not with a clear policy and deposits, maximum occupancy consistent with code. Apply your standard consistently. Verify income with pay stubs and bank deposits, call employers, call past landlords, not just current, run credit and background checks through a reputable service, and trust polite red flags, evasiveness, urgency to move tomorrow, cash offers outside the system. The goal is not to be suspicious of people, it's to be loyal to the process that treats people fairly and protects your family's small business. Write leases like you're tired. A good lease is not an essay, it's a checklist. Use a jurisdiction-specific lease template from a landlord association or attorney. Include clear rent amount, due date, grace period, late fees consistent with law, returned payment fees, utilities responsibility, lawn, snow, trash, parking, pets and their terms, maintenance responsibilities, filters, bulbs, smoke CO detector batteries, no smoking policy, guest policy, notice for entry, repairs process and response times, alterations, subletting rules if allowed, pest policy, renewal notice timelines, move-out cleaning standards, and how and when security deposits are handled. Attach move-in condition forms with photos. Confirm tenants read and initial key pages. Electronic signatures and portals cut friction. Policies beat ad hoc texts every time. Run the numbers monthly like a bookkeeper, not a tourist. Open a separate bank account for the property on day 1. Money in, money out, clean books. Use simple software or a spreadsheet to track rent, late fees, utilities, management, maintenance, CapEx reserve transfers, mortgage escrow surprises, tax set-asides. Create 2 reserves, maintenance, which you will spend often, and CapEx, which you will spend in lumps. When rent arrives, pay the mortgage and automatic transfers to reserves the same week. When something breaks, you'll be annoyed, not ruined. Tell future you thank you by labeling accounts with names like 123 Maple Operations and 123 Maple CapEx Reserve. Confusion is expensive. Clarity compounds. Pricing and marketing decide your vacancy cost. Price at the market and for condition, don't invent a premium unless you can name exactly why. Great photos, a clean and bright unit, neutral paint, working blinds, and a hotel-level clean between tenants make more difference than inspirational copy. Answer inquiries fast with a scheduling link. Show in batches if you self-manage. Provide applications immediately. The best tenants are often the ones who have options. Don't make them chase you. If you're empty for more than 2 weeks with low activity, your price is wrong, your listing is bad, or your showing process is sloppy. Fix the machine, don't blame the market blindly. When renovation is where beginners write their first scary story. Scope creep, contractor no-shows, material delays, and change orders destroy timelines and budgets. Keep scope small on your first deal. Cosmetic updates carry outsized rent impact. Paint, lighting, cabinet hardware, faucets, a matching set of modern appliances, vinyl plank flooring that wears like armor, new blinds, tidy landscaping, and a deep clean between tenants. Standardize materials and finishes so future repairs are easy. Get 3 bids with line items. Choose based on references and clarity, not the absolute lowest price. Pay draws on milestones with inspections, not on percentages. You are not building a dream, you are rebuilding a machine that prints rent on the first. Insurance is not a checkbox, it's a policy you need to understand. Landlord policy with proper dwelling coverage, liability limits, consider an umbrella, loss of rents coverage, and riders for short-term rental if applicable. Require renter's insurance in your lease. Document move-in condition with date-stamped photos and a signed condition report. When claims happen, photos and process are your witnesses. If you own in your personal name, learn the basics of asset protection. Proper insurance and clean processes are your first defense. Entity structures can add layers but come with banking and lending implications. Ask a professional. Don't copy a forum post that doesn't know your life. Taxes on both fronts matter. Property taxes rise in many markets after sale or reassessment, model increases. For income taxes, separate operating expenses, deductible now, from capital improvements depreciated over time. Track mileage, supplies, repairs, management, insurance, HOA, legal accounting, and travel to the property. Depreciation is a quiet benefit that shelters income. Learn the basics or hire a CPA who specializes in real estate. If you do short-term rentals, tax rules change again. Occupancy taxes, possible treatment as a business, different thresholds. You're not trying to be a tax lawyer. You're trying to not donate money by ignoring categories the law hands you. Legal and ethical lines matter. Fair housing is not optional. Learn protected classes in your jurisdiction, keep your criteria written, and apply them consistently. Don't ask illegal questions. Provide required disclosures. Handle security deposits exactly as the law requires. Separate accounts, interest where applicable, timelines for returns and itemizations with receipts. If you need to non-renew or evict, follow the process with notices, proper service, and documentation. Judges don't reward vibes, they reward paperwork. Be firm, fair, and documented. Nice means you answer the phone and fix things. Firm means you enforce leases and don't make undocumented side deals that confuse everyone later. Cash flow versus appreciation is a spectrum. Some investors buy in cash flow markets where rents cover expenses with cushion, but price growth lags. Others buy in tight markets that bleed cash but appreciate quickly. For a first property, aim for balanced, modest positive cash flow after full reserves and management in a place with stable fundamentals. Forced equity, value you create with smart rehab or better operations, beats hoping the market bails you out. A clean, safe, durable home with efficient utilities and storage rents for more than a tired one with the same square footage. Tenants don't pay you for granite as much as they pay you for light, cleanliness, working everything, and a landlord who answers the phone. Renovation is where beginners write their first scary story. Scope creep, contractor no-shows, material delays, and change orders destroy timelines and budgets. Keep scope small on your first deal. Cosmetic updates carry outsized rent impact. Paint, lighting, cabinet hardware, faucets, a matching set of modern appliances, vinyl plank flooring that wears like armor, new blinds, tidy landscaping, and a deep clean. Standardize materials and finishes so future repairs are easy.
Get 3 bids with line items. Choose based on references and clarity, not the absolute lowest price. Pay draws on milestones with inspections, not on percentages. You are not building a dream, you are rebuilding a machine that prints rent on the first. Insurance is not a checkbox, it's a policy you need to understand. Landlord policy with proper dwelling coverage, liability limits, consider an umbrella, loss of rents coverage, and riders for short-term rental if applicable. Require renter's insurance in your lease. Document move-in condition with date-stamped photos and a signed condition report. When claims happen, photos and process are your witnesses. If you own in your personal name, learn the basics of asset protection. Proper insurance and clean processes are your first defense. Entity structures can add layers but come with banking and lending implications. Ask a professional, don't copy a forum post that doesn't know your life.
Exit strategy is part of your entry. If you needed to sell in 24 months, could you? Would the unit attract owner-occupants or only investors? Could you refinance at a sane DSCR if rates move? Can you convert to mid-term or long-term if short-term rules change? Can you carry a month of vacancy without cannibalizing your emergency fund? Options are wealth. You don't want to be the person with a cash-flowing listing that nobody wants because the only buyer is a spreadsheet that sees what you ignored. House hacking deserves a special note because it remains the most forgiving first move. Living in one side of a duplex or renting 2 bedrooms in a 3-bedroom home offloads your mortgage to other humans while you learn the ropes at a manageable scale. You'll share walls and sometimes a driveway. You'll also drop your housing costs to near zero, accelerate saving for the next property, and build skill with training wheels. Screen housemates like tenants, set quiet hours and shared space rules in writing, and keep expectations boring. 2 years later, you move out, refinance into a conventional investment loan, and keep the machine running. It's not glamorous, it works. Mid-term rentals to traveling nurses, consultants, and displaced families are a middle path worth understanding. They rent furnished for 30 to 90 days, pay a premium to long-term, and avoid nightly turnover. You furnish simply, include utilities, and screen carefully. You verify employer or agency, collect deposits, and write clear cleaning and checkout expectations. You learn the platforms that serve this niche, plus relationships with local hospital placement agencies and insurance adjusters. If your city throttles short-term rentals, midterm often sits in a friendlier legal lane. It's still hospitality, it's just calmer hospitality. Short-term rentals can be powerful or punishing. If you choose this lane, you're entering hospitality and marketing. Your numbers must model seasonality, cleaning fees, platform fees, occupancy taxes, higher utilities, wear and tear, and the cost of your time or a co-host. Your risk is regulation and oversupply. Your moat is brand, reviews, design that photographs well and lives well, and operations that treat cleaners and guests with respect. Don't assume last year's nightly rate. Assume a 10–20% haircut and see if it still works. Have a plan B. Can you cash flow as a midterm or long-term if regulations change? If not, you're speculating on laws. Laws don't DM you before they change. What about partnerships? They are marriages with spreadsheets. Only partner if the value is asymmetric and documented. One brings capital, the other brings operations, or both bring needed skills and money. Put roles, decision rights, waterfalls, buy-sell clauses, and dispute resolution in writing. If you can't say out loud who does what, who approves what, and what happens if someone needs out, you aren't ready. It's better to own 100% of a boring single family than 50% of a beautiful fight. Let's make this painfully practical with a first deal process you can actually run. You pick a metro within a 2-hour drive. You choose long-term small multifamily as your lane. You assemble a team: investor-savvy agent, lender who closes, inspector who scares you with facts, a lawyer who reviews leases, and at least 2 property managers you've interviewed. You build a buy box: duplexes and triplexes priced $180K to $320K in 3 target neighborhoods near hospitals and schools, 1970s or newer, separate utilities preferred, off-street parking, laundry in unit or hookups, no known foundation drama. You set an alert for every listing in that box. Each morning, you underwrite quickly.
Actual or realistic rent comps, taxes from the county website, insurance estimate from your broker, water or sewer if owner paid, maintenance and CapEx reserves at 10% each, management at 8%, vacancy at 7%. If cash flow is positive after mortgage at today's rates, you drive it on Saturday, video it, and send your top 3 to your inspector for a quick "what would scare you here" text. You write an offer on the cleanest one at a number that works with your model and leaves room for $10K of first-year fixes. You keep your inspection contingency. If the report reveals a $12K sewer line and the seller won't budge, you walk. 2 weeks later, you get one where the big stuff is young, the kitchens are dated, and the rent is 15% below market. That you can fix. You close, you paint and light it, you add blinds and a matching appliance, you price fairly, you screen like adult, you set up your portals, and you get your first rent with a smile because the machine is on. The first year is about stability and rhythm, not empire. Your goals are 100% on-time mortgage payments, a zero-drama ledger, documented processes, and relationships with vendors and a manager that survive a Saturday. You learn to explain your numbers to yourself without excuses. Here's rent, here's expenses, here's reserves, here's cash flow, here's the CapEx calendar. If you finish year 1 with a calm tenant, a funded reserve, a working playbook, and the urge to do it again, you're a landlord. If you finish year 1 exhausted and resentful, you learn something precious for the price of one house. Your version of the business needs more help, a different lane, or a different plan. That's not failure. That's tuition you paid in real life instead of on a course page. You don't need to become a mogul to change your household story. One well-bought, well-run property can offset childcare, fund a retirement gap, or give you the option to say no at work more often. The trick is to treat it like what it is, a patient, sometimes needy business that rewards boring excellence. Buy in a lane that suits your energy and your laws. Underwrite conservatively with reserves that feel generous. Screen fairly and consistently. Maintain like you live there. Document like a clerk. Be kind but firm. Let your first rental be a teacher you respect, not a bully you fear. If you do that, a quiet thing happens. The rent shows up, the bank account names make sense, the house stops being a headline, and your calendar earns room for a life that got subtly richer without needing applause.